This is the third solution video to the challenge I called Mega Challenge Casino. Okay, and let's take a look at the requirement here for the initial state of the application. You'll notice that whenever the application first runs, there is at least one roll already displayed. So this is the equivalent of walking up to a machine in Las Vegas and it already has the previous player's last run, all right? And then it should also have the player's money, and as we saw and you work through winning and losing money, it should retain that every time. And we said we were going to persist that in view state. So obviously, this isn't going to be something where you can come back in 3 days and find out how much money you still have. We'll have to learn about saving data in a database, and we'll do that a little bit later on. But we can work with what we've got now. So basically, we need to make sure that if the not page dot is postback. So the first time that the page is run, we want to put the page in a correct initial state. So we'll basically just need to display the real values, right? And we've already got the helper methods to do this, I think. So we go string. I could probably farm this out to a method of its own, but I think I can just do it here in less than 6 lines. So new string, and then I'm just trying to get those 3 reels, right? So a spin reel for the first one, spin reel for the second one, and then spin reel for the third one, like so. Okay, so we got the reels now. We can just call it display images, right, and pass it reels. So that should give us an initial state. So let's go ahead and see if that part works. All right, so it did. It initialized the first time that it runs. However, I'm not quite sure if I understand exactly why every time I pull the lever the same images are there. It seems to me like if not page dot is postback. Oh, you know what? I'm a knucklehead. Haha, I didn't put in any value for the bet, so it just exited out. We probably, if I were to make this a real application, I would want to put some sort of a message here like, hey, you got to fill in the bet before you can pull the lever, all right? Or even maybe just with JavaScript, disable the pull the lever button until you enter a bet. All right, so it's all good. It works. That's what we wanted to make sure of. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to kind of set the player's initial money total and then their ongoing money total. So what we need to do is kind of initialize that view state property. So view state dot add, and we need a key, and we're going to just call this player's money, I think. Player's money. And we'll start them off with $100, or I guess it's dollars, okay? And then I'm going to want to display it. I think the initial state here is, it shows the initial value. Yeah, it shows the player's money to start off with. So we need a helper method, display result. All right. Whoops, no, that's not going to do. What we need to do is create like a display players money. That would be good. And then we can use this later too. So let's go ahead and add that. Control period, enter, and then here what I want to do is just let's look at that that image again here. Players money colon, easy enough. All right. So money label dot text equals players money colon 0C comma, and then we need to figure out the money amount. How am I going to do that? I need to retrieve that. I could either pass it in, but in this case, like I'd have to grab it out of view state anyway here. In fact, I'm always going to be working with it from view state. So it probably makes a little bit more sense for me to just go ahead and to just call it out of view state. I think I can just do this, view state, and just access it like this. So players money. All right, like that. Can that work? Or do I need to Well, I need to convert it. I think that it should work. Oh, I did this wrong. String dot format. There we go. Missed a critical piece there. Okay, so that should work. And in fact, it should work right now. So let's go ahead and test it. Players money 100. Okay, obviously when we show the winnings, we haven't added that part in yet. So that's really the next piece of the puzzle. Whenever you, let's see, pull the lever, or where should we do this? In the page.postback. Things are starting to get a little messy here, by the way. I think I'm going to put this all the way at the bottom, right there, and I'm going to find that other display images. I'm going to put that near the bottom too. So at least it'll have some organization, like all the displays are at the bottom. And there should be one more display, right? Yeah, display result. We'll take that, go all the way to the bottom, and I guess I'll put that there. All right, feel free to organize this any way you want. It's kind of hard because methods are calling methods are calling methods, so there is some subjectivity to this. But I'm going to go comb back through it and clean up the code a little bit once we get it working. All right, so we have displayed the result, whether they've won or not, but now what we need to do is save, take their current amount of money and then save the new amount, or subtract the amount that they bet. So to do this, I'm going to call I'll create a new method called adjust players money, and I'm going to pass in the bet and the winnings. And then I can call display player money, display players money, and it'll show that the final amount on screen. Okay, so we got to create this control period, enter. All right, and what I'll do here is I'm going to need to retrieve the player's money will be an integer. So player's money is going to equal the view state player's money. All right, and that's going to just return back an object. So we'll want to do an int.parse on this. Int.parse. And let's see, does it happy? Not happy, why not? Okay, it doesn't, int.parse never takes an object, so we're going to have to toString this. It's a little bit of a little hack there to get this all to work. But now I should have the player's money from view state. Once I have that, I should be able to subtract out the bet, so player's money minus equals the bet, and then player's money plus equal the winnings, like so. And then I should be able to stick that back in view state. So view state, player's money equals player's money, like so. Okay, I think that's all I got to do. Let's go ahead and run and see what happens. All right. So let's go ahead and bet $5 and pull the lever, and I won $10. So my money is 105, and you might say, well, shouldn't you have won? Shouldn't the player's money be 110? No, when you double your money, you had $5 and you doubled it. It should be $10 total. So when you spent the $5 for the bet, at that point you had $95, and then you doubled your money. So you had $5 bet, now you have 10. So that's the rationale for that and how that should work. And if you don't agree with that, or if you would prefer to make it work a little bit differently, all you'd have to do is kind of adjust how this part worked right here. Okay. Let's see the losing scenario. What happens when we won a bet on the first time? That's pretty lucky to walk out of Vegas with a 5% increase. Okay, this time we lost $5 because that was our bet. So we're down to 95, and let's pull it again. 2 cherries and a bar. Perfect. This tests that condition. Is it a bar? Yes. Then it doesn't even get down to the point where it checks out for cherries. So what I would do at this point is just continue to run the application, put it in beta, ask my friends to use it, and have some fun with it. Okay? So that is the solution. I hope you got it. Again, this was more of an exercise in taking a big problem and breaking it into smaller problems. And since we're talking about creating helper methods, it made a lot of sense to use a mega challenge for that, because it's really a matter of breaking up this big problem into tiny problems that we can say, okay, I'm going to delegate this small little piece of the puzzle to this method. I'm going to delegate this small little piece of the puzzle to this method. And before you know it, you have a lot of helper methods. And that's why it makes sense to talk about this here. All right, so if you did not get this solved, don't just rush past this. You're not really doing yourself any favors by just rushing past this and moving on to the next piece of information. Do this exercise again tomorrow. Now that you've kind of got, maybe your eyes are open, to a solution, exercise that new thought process by redoing this exercise tomorrow or the next day. And keep doing it until you solve it on your own without my help. Okay? But what's most important here is the thought process to solve this, more so than the actual mechanics of creating helper methods and calling them. Those are a means to an end. But ultimately what you want is a working application and something that is maintainable, like what we've done here in this video. Okay, so I would probably now at this point that I got it working, move the code around. I'm not gonna spend time to do that on camera. You know what my feelings are on that matter. So at any rate, let's move on and talk about strings in the lesson number 35. We'll see you there. Thanks.